Hey there, and welcome to the Unleash Your Impact podcast, where we discover and talk about all the ways to build a culture of collaboration, one team at a time. Because we know this is where the greatest impact lies. The greatest impact lies in teams. I'm Casey Watts, impact coach and consultant, and the host of this podcast. Today's episode is brought to you from a Facebook Live session in the Leading Collaborative Teams Facebook group. In this session, I share about 3 ways to kill collaboration fast and how to instead build a culture of collaboration. Now, you can catch this episode right here in the podcast on YouTube, or you can join us in the Facebook group to catch this replay and get access to other content. With that said, I hope you enjoy. Happy Wednesday I guess it's evening time, 6:30 Central Standard Time. I see we have at least one person watching right now, so that's awesome. What I would love for you to do as I am beginning to share tonight, I would love for you to add a comment. Let me know who's here. If you're catching the replay, just hashtag replay. Let me know who you are, where you're from, and what it is that you do. I know that we probably have mostly educators in this group, but there are likely a couple of other people from maybe the corporate world, which is great because it gives us a really new and interesting perspective. So, hi, I am Casey Watts. I'm an impact coach and consultant, which means that I get to do consulting work with instructional leaders, mostly instructional leaders in schools, but also some other organizations. And it is my goal as a coach and consultant to make thriving, cohesive teams a possibility for any individual in an organization. So I want to tell you kind of what I envision as I do my work as a coach and consultant. I envision collaborative communities in which the vast majority of educators or people are eager and inspired to go to work each day, feel valued and empowered while at work, and end each day with a great sense of purpose and fulfillment. So let's get started tonight. As we're going through this live Facebook session, I am going to try to keep you as engaged as possible, but also know that, we have busy lives and it is December. So I realize there's so much going on right now, right? Like, you have so many things going on. So this could be one of those live sessions where you pop in and out, or you're listening on the go, or you catch the replay later. All of that is completely okay. That's why we create the replays, so that you can watch it later at your leisure. But I am going to ask you, as I'm going through this, to add some things in the comments. So even if you are catching the replay, you can put some things in the comments to share some of your thoughts and ideas. But what I want to do is start by telling you where you can go to get a few more things that could be helpful as you are practicing as a leader, especially as a collaborative leader. You can go to my website, catchingupwithcasey.com. There you are going to find out more about me if you're interested. You are going to see impact resources for all. You'll see my blog. You'll also see information about how we can maybe partner together. Okay, so tonight we are here to talk about 3 ways to kill collaboration fast, but also 3 ways that we can build a culture of collaboration instead. And I want to talk shop first. So if we're talking shop, I want to know, kind of through an emoji, what you feel about collaboration in your building. So if you are here live or you're going to catch the replay, just drop a little emoji or maybe a GIF and show us how you feel about collaboration between teams or between individuals in your school or in your organization. Hi, Christina from Missouri, an aspiring instructional coach. Listen, you're in the right place. I want to tell you too, if you haven't joined the New to Coaching group here on Facebook, please go and join the New to Coaching Facebook group with Allison Peterson. She's a dear friend of mine and has lots of great things to share. Okay, so I am assuming if we were to see lots of emojis in the comments, we would see maybe some sad faces. Maybe we would see some frustrated faces. Maybe we would see a few happy faces. Maybe we would see some really great memes or GIFs that show collaboration. Hey, Michelle Boulin. Okay, yeah, kind of like this. Collaboration, not so great. Could be better, right? And it could be better everywhere. And I believe that that is true for all of us. And we're going to talk about that assumption that collaboration is happening when sometimes it really just is not happening. At the end of this, so as we have more people pop in, or as you're thinking about like what you would show if you were going to describe collaboration in your community, I'm going to share what I want to provide at the end of this replay. So at the end of this live, I'm going to be looking for some hashtags, and I'm going to be giving away at least 2 Marco Polo Plus passes to some lucky winners. If you're not familiar with Marco Polo Plus or Marco Polo, it is a fantastic app that you are going to want to spend some time looking into and getting familiarized with, because it is great not just for your social life with your friends and family, but it can also be great for your professional life with colleagues, coworkers, or just like-minded people that you want to come together with and share your thoughts. Now, I'm also going to tell you, I've been sick for the last several days, so I'm going to be pausing to get water quite a bit, so you don't have to listen to a raspy voice. Okay, so let's get started. I'm not going to spend a super long time in this episode or this live session explaining a whole lot of things, because I want to keep it brief, because I feel like if we get past 30 minutes, we've kind of extended into a time where it's hard to engage. So my goal is about 30 minutes, and it might be less than that amount of time or a little bit more. But what I want to start with is thinking about the 3 things that kill collaboration fast. Now, here's the deal, and I'm going to be very transparent and honest in this session. We all, whether we realize it or not, kill collaboration. We all have the ability and sometimes the tendency to kill collaboration. And we also probably see other people who kill collaboration, like we witness it day in and day out. Okay, so as I'm sharing about these 3 ways to kill collaboration fast, I want you to be thinking about yourself, of course, and I want you to be thinking about situations where you've noticed this happening, okay? And anytime you see those situations where you notice it happening or have noticed it happening, please comment, put yes in all capital letters, or put hashtag me too, or give me some kind of emoji to let me know that I'm not alone, and to let other people know that they're not alone, that this happens to us all when we're trying to build a culture of collaboration. We all have a tendency to kill collaboration fast, whether we realize it or not. Okay, so here we go. Are you ready? The 3 ways that we kill collaboration fast are: we avoid quote unquote time wasters. So that's the first way. We make assumptions, and I said that earlier, we make assumptions. And finally, the 3rd way that we kill collaboration fast is that we attempt to collaborate without goals or any plans at all. Okay, so the 3 ways, I will say that one more time. We avoid time wasters, we make assumptions, and we collaborate without any goals or plans. So we're going to start with avoiding time wasters. And what do I mean by avoiding time wasters? Well, what I want you to think about is, if you were working in a school or really any organization and you're at the beginning of what you would call like the year, so the beginning of the school year, I want you to think about what time is spent on what things, and what is the most time spent on. So think about and put in the comments like what it is that your organization or school does at the start of the year with teams and individuals? What do you spend a whole lot of time on? I would tell you for a lot of schools that I've worked with, a lot of time is spent on individualized things such as logistical ways to get into the progress of the school year. Things like your online PD, things like learning the new curriculum, things like, I'm trying to think of some other things that we spend time on, things like getting into the classroom and working on classroom decorations, getting things organized. A lot of time is spent on logistical things, the things that most instructional leaders believe is the most important thing to focus their time on. Little to no time is spent on things like self-awareness and social awareness. Very little time, if any at all, is spent on self and social awareness. Now, what you often will see are schools that spend time with icebreakers or team building activities, and that is all great and fun. But those are implemented in a way to break the ice or to help teams get to know each other, but at a very surface level. Now, this becomes a detriment because without the time to truly get to know themselves as a worker, as a collaborator, without time to let people get to know their core motivations, what struggles they encounter and how they can rely on others, and without the time for them to be able to do that with other people and to know other people's strengths and areas of growth, let me tell you what, the productivity down the road is going to be lacking. I want to read you just a little bit from this book called Team of Teams by General Stanley McChrystal. It's a fantastic read. It's really all from the perspective of the military, but he has some really insightful things about how to work as a team of teams. And this is what he says about the time spent. He says that trust and purpose are inefficient. Getting to know your colleagues intimately and acquiring a whole system overview are big time sinks. The sharing of responsibilities generates redundancy. But this overlap and redundancy, these inefficiencies, in other words, he's saying these things that we try to avoid because they're a waste of time, are precisely what imbues teams with high level adaptability and efficiency. Great teams are less like awesome machines than awesome organisms. We have a tendency to avoid these time wasters, but what happens in the end is that because we avoid what we feel like are time wasters, we have teams that are doing the guessing work of trying to figure out each other. I'm so sorry. They're trying to figure each other out many months down the road. And because of that, they are not as productive as they could be. They are not as successful as they could be. So what I'm suggesting is that we instead dedicate time for our teams and individuals to get to know themselves really well in the beginning of the year and to get to know each other well. That could happen in a myriad of ways. It could be that you're helping them to understand their personality types. It could be that you want them to understand their working genius, which I've been posting about. It could be that you want them to develop a team organizational chart where they organize the things that each of them contributes and the ways in which each of them needs other people in order to be successful. Okay, so give me a hashtag, dedicate time, if that's something that you're thinking, yeah, we really could be dedicating our time in a different way to our organization at the beginning of the year so that we are not 3 months down the road trying to do this guesswork of, well, why isn't so-and-so contributing to the conversation? Or we still have single contributors, or we have chaos and disorganization in teams. Dedicate time. We've got to dedicate time to people getting to know themselves and others well. Okay, so the first way to kill collaboration is to avoid, quote unquote, what we feel like are time wasters, which are actually value adders and time adders, because we are more productive down the road. The second way that we can kill collaboration fast is by making assumptions. Now, I want to tell you a story from a school that I consulted with recently. I was working with, it was a whole school organization. I worked primarily with the instructional leadership team, and they wanted to place their focus on data. And when I asked about collaboration, the instructional leadership team said, our teams collaborate really well. And I said, tell me more. And their assumption was that because the teams got along, that they all collaborated well. But here's what's interesting. When I went to meet with individuals from those teams and with teams together, separate from instructional leadership, they had a different story to tell. Their story was one of, well, I don't get to share my ideas a lot because there's a veteran teacher on the team who shares everything. And I don't want to interrupt, and I don't want to share what I'm thinking because she's been here for so long. Another was a story of, I have a lot to share, but I really don't know what the expectations are from instructional leadership. Or one of, well, we all feel like we get along, but we're afraid to take risks because we're not quite sure how it's going to be responded to. Their story did not match that of the instructional leadership team. The instructional leadership team assumed that collaboration was happening because the team got along. Let me tell you, we cannot assume that where two or more people are gathered, that collaboration is happening. Collaboration takes vulnerability, it takes courage, it takes effort, it takes crucial conversations. When those things are not happening, collaboration is not happening. So what we have to do instead is we have to teach collaboration explicitly. We have to model it regularly. We have to practice it regularly, and we have to celebrate it systematically. Those are the things that are required in order to see collaboration come to life, so that we don't have this faux collaboration, which is to say a fake sense of collaboration. We want to explicitly teach it, effectively model it, routinely practice it, and celebrate it systematically. Now, when you think that your teams truly understand collaboration, you will still again and again and again explicitly teach it, effectively model it, and routinely practice it, because we cannot resort to making assumptions. When we start making assumptions, that's when the wheels fall off the track. That's when we fall prey to faux collaboration where it's not really happening at all. Now, what I love to think about is this celebration piece of it, because even when we do see teams somewhat collaborating well, how often are those teams or individuals celebrated? And what we know is that celebrations fall to repeated actions. Celebrations fall to repeated actions. The wording of that is so important because it happens almost inexplicably. Celebrations fall into repeated actions, and we want that to have a trickle effect, a domino effect, right? So I think about when this could take place. Like, when am I going to have the time, or when is instructional leadership going to have the time to explicitly teach it? And what does that even look like? You're right, it does take time. But kind of going back to avoiding time wasters, that's not a time waster. That has to be dedicated time. And it has to be stated that, hey, we're going to explicitly teach you how to have a crucial conversation. because that's collaboration, and a lot of people don't know how to do it, which means you have to effectively model it, and then you have to give them opportunities to practice. So when we think about providing these opportunities to teach, model, and routinely practice collaboration and what it truly looks like, we might think about doing that in PLCs. Or you could actually have individual conversations with people before they go into a collaboration session or they go into a co-working session together, and you can teach them and coach them through trying to collaborate well with their peers. Okay, so the second way to kill collaboration fast is to make assumptions that it's actually happening, and then instead to teach it, model it, practice it, and don't forget that last part, which is celebrate it systematically. Okay. I'm seeing a yes in the comments. Absolutely. I love that you're including that in the comments. Okay. The third way to kill collaboration fast, and this is probably one of my favorites, it is to collaborate without goals or plans. Now, it is easy to assume that when we go into a meeting with a plan, it's going to work out as planned. But we all know that that doesn't always happen, right? And that's okay, because we know that meetings can be messy, and messy is actually where often the success happens. I think about sometimes those plans as being very unintentional. So for example, if you notice a plan that has 3 bullets on it, and it has the same things for each of those 3 bullets every time you meet, we know that that is not an effective agenda or plan. What are the goals? What are the goals of those continuous meetings? And that can kill collaboration, because then it becomes this monotonous thing that you have to go do. And we're not truly using that time to collaborate. Then it's not meaningful to anyone. Then no one wants to go to the meeting in the first place, right? You see how it's just like this cycle. It's this continuous catch-22. We want to steer clear of that. Here's the problem with plans. Plans take courage. So when you go into a meeting and you notice no one has a plan, you have to think to yourself, okay, I have to be that courageous leader that brings a plan. And that's hard, because plans can often insinuate things, right? So when you say, let's create a plan for this meeting, or let's create an agenda or a goal for our time together, sometimes that can insinuate to people, what, you mean I'm not doing my job? Or it can insinuate to people, well, why do we need a plan? I feel like we get along just fine. Or it can insinuate to people, plans? Oh, you mean you're going to add more time for us to work together? And people don't like to use their precious time. Here's what happens, though. I love the words of Patrick Lencioni. He talks about going into a meeting with plans, right? Like, you can go into a meeting with plans, and those plans can be a little bit messy and you can get sidetracked. But to go into a meeting or a co-work without a plan or agenda at all is simply sloppy. And here's what it results in. It results in, later on, unproductivity, right? And I want you to comment yes if you notice any of these things happen as a result of no plans. It can result in unproductivity. Is that a word? I think it is. We're going to go with it. It can result in sloppiness, of course, slowness. It can result in chaotic work. It can even produce, even if it produces work, it's usually bland or unimpressive work or unimpressive products. We need to ensure that we are planning intentionally so that collaboration can actually happen. No one can collaborate well if there is not a vision or goal in mind for the collective team. It just doesn't happen. And even when it does happen, it's not sustainable. But our plans and agendas and goals make it sustainable. Okay, so I've told you 3 ways to kill collaboration fast. And I told you this would be like 30 minutes and we were going to be done, because I don't want to spend a ton of time talking about all of these things, although I could go into depth about each of them. The 3 ways to kill collaboration fast is to avoid time wasters, to make assumptions, and to collaborate without any goals or plans. Here's what we want to do instead. We want to dedicate time. Dedicate time where time is necessary. And that is in intentionally allowing people to become self and socially aware so that they can double their productivity as a team when they begin to work together, right? We also want to explicitly teach, effectively model, and routinely practice collaboration. We cannot assume that it's going to happen of its own accord, even if we are looking in on 2 people working together. We cannot assume that collaboration is happening. And then we want to celebrate it systematically so that whatever gets celebrated gets repeated. Think about that domino effect. And then finally, we want to plan intentionally. We want to be sure that our plans mean something. We want to ensure that our plans produce things that matter and that people want to continue that great work together. Okay, I have shared ways that you can combat that. And what I want you to do is in the comments, if you're here live or if you're catching the replay, I want you to drop what you feel like was most useful for you here tonight in this session. Was it the 3 ways that kill collaboration and you notice like, I noticed some of those things happening from myself as an instructional leader, or I'm noticing it happening from other instructional leaders? Or was it some things that you want to go back and really intentionally put into place next semester as you're helping teams to collaborate? And you also might decide to go to my blog, catchingupwithcasey.com/blog. And that's where you're going to find a printable download that you can get through. You'll see it through like the 3rd blog, I think. And it's this exact content right here. It is 3 ways to kill collaboration fast and ways to build collaboration instead. Now, remember at the beginning of this session, I said I wanted to give out 2 Marco Polo Plus passes. And again, if you are not sure what Marco Polo is, I highly suggest you dig into it. What I'm going to do in just a couple of days, I'm going to go back and take a look at some of the comments, and I'm going to put that in just a random generator. Those 2 people will be drawn, and I will shoot you a message. I'm seeing people say, biggest takeaway was don't make assumptions. Absolutely. That's a hard one too. Michelle said, be intentional about everyone's time. Yes, absolutely. Okay. Now, what I'd love for you to do last is simply drop me better you, better team hashtag. Use it regularly because that's what this group is all about. This group is all about becoming a better you so that you can be a part of and build better teams. Okay. I've enjoyed being with you. If you're catching the replay, hashtag replay, and I will catch you later.